Howdy folks, this is Steven SwampDog here, back with another movie review, and I have a lot of thoughts about this one. I just got back from seeing the remake of How to Train Your Dragon. Before we continue, this review will have spoilers, so if you're trying to avoid spoilers, don't watch my review. Alright, I'm giving you ample opportunity. 3, 2, 1, okay, here I go. So, the remake for How to Train Your Dragon, I must give it credit, it's not as bad as I feared. I was really scared it was going to be like the Lion King remake, where it's almost the same lines, but there's absolutely no soul in them at all. Now, there is a bit of that, I should warn. Something that really bothered me about the film was a lot of personalities got thrown, in different directions from how they were supposed to be. Particularly, they made Stoic a bit too goofy. I have a feeling Gerard Butler might have been struggling with the role this time around. I'm not sure why. He doesn't really feel like Stoic until it's the dragon ring scene, where Hiccup's trying to train the monstrous nightmare in front of all the village. But before that, it is, really, his performance is off. And he's almost too goofy acting to be considered this intimidating chief. Which is really wild considering Gerard Butler played him in the original. And his voice acting for that role was great. But for the live action version, it didn't click. It didn't mesh right. And then another character that I'm not surprised turned out odd, but was still weirded out the direction. Astrid. Now, I must say this. The Astrid, yeah. The actress, I could definitely tell she was giving it her all, and she gave a good performance, but she didn't convince me she's Astrid. She felt, if I had to describe her, it's like if Zendaya was told to play Astrid. That's what it felt like. If you've seen one Zendaya role, you've kind of seen them all. It felt like a Zendaya role. And they changed up some lines where it changes the characters' personalities to the point where it's wait a minute, this doesn't mesh well. And it's hard to put into words. I have to see the movie again to give you all the lines. But at one point, instead of just chastising Hiccup when she's saying, hey, our parents' war is about to become our war, she now directs it to everybody. And I also got a weird feeling the movie creators love Astrid a bit too much, because they gave her so many scenes that were not in the original, to the point of it's like the film had a favoritism for the character, to the point of kind of weird. She got more role than she originally had, which, it's not bad to give characters expansion, but they didn't really give her expansion, they just gave her different lines. And she almost has chemistry with the live-action Hiccup, but I don't know, I felt like there was something really missing. I think the biggest problem is she doesn't feel like Astrid. As her own character, she's great. I'll be honest, she makes me think of Chani from Dune more than she makes me think of Astrid. Which probably is because it's a Zendaya role. Now, I must say, the actor who I truly think was giving it all, though his performance left a lot to be desired, is Hiccup's actor. There were points where it's okay, now he's convincing me he's Hiccup. But then there are other points where it's this doesn't feel like something Hiccup would say, or this is a big problem I have with a lot of the lines is the personality wasn't being put into the lines. It was more said like a school play reading from an unwilling participant. For instance, there's a scene where and they removed so many of the best jokes. So much of the fun dialogue and character dialogue is removed. They remove Stoic and Gobber talking about Stoic's childhood when he's talking about Hiccup and everything, saying, my father told me hit this rock with my head. And they remove that from the movie. And they also remove over half of Hiccup's one-liners, which is just insane to me, because so much of those are what, it showed us his personality. And instead it's replaced with, Like, I'll be honest, I think there was only one joke that got a laugh out of me in the theater, and it wasn't from any of the main characters. Out of all characters, the character who got a laugh out of me was Snotlout. And you know there's something wrong when it's only Snotlout who got a laugh out of me. Because I can't stand him. Like, he has, like, his own little mini arc where, like, his dad, Spitelout, doesn't want to be associated with him. And, like, when he goes, hey, I bet you're proud of me, Dad. Don't talk to me in public. Oh, okay, Dad. Like, the delivery from them, they were funny. Also, the twins are odd in the movie. Rough Nut and Tough Nut, how do I put it? They made Rough Nut look more like a female Fish Legs. In terms of the animated one. Like, it's like, wait a minute, why did they change that? What was the point of changing that? Was it really that hard to find two skinny blonde twins? Not that I'm shaming or anything. But I'm just saying, it's weird that they can't even get the casting right for some of these. Fish Legs actor did good. It took a little getting used to, but he did good. He got into character. Gobber. I think Gobber was miscasted. His line reads probably bothered me the most out of all characters in the film. I'd have to say Gobber had the worst line reads. Like, because like Gobber, you know, he has that like kind of sarcastic personality, but you know, he's still trying to be a good trainer to the dragon trainees. Like, in this movie, they just kind of make him... In the beginning of the film, he starts off as more like the book Gobber, where he's more gruff with Hiccup. And once again, they remove so much of the great lines from Gobber, Hiccup. Pretty much everyone's lines are like almost changed up, and they only keep a very few of the original. I'm not sure if that was just in an effort to avoid being too similar to the original film, but there's a point where it's like, okay, do you want to be a remake of the original? Or do you just want to be a remake where you're trying something a little different? And there is a difference between the two. Now, personally, I don't think they should have ever tried making the movie into live action. I think if anything from How to Train Your Dragon was going to be live action, either A, a continuation about Hiccup's son, or B, a live action adaptation of the books. Now, another thing that really threw me off is they changed the origin of Burke. So in this version, Burke is a village specifically made up of dragon hunters, and the idea is that they moved there in the first place to hunt the dragons, instead of it being like, you know, two sides living on the same land or struggling to survive. They do this, they do like a little message about how, oh, maybe the Vikings are the problem, and they're like the colonists encroaching on the dragon's lands because we're eating the dragon's food. And it's like, the movie leans so hard on the dragon side too much, where it's to the point where it's like it's kind of turning the Vikings a bit too on the wrong side. Like, it's bad for them to kill the dragons, yes, but they also have to defend their livelihood and their food. But if all of them just move there to kill dragons, that makes them more malicious, instead of it being more like, you know, trying to defend our settlement. And, like, they do this other thing to explain why there's so many different ethnicities in the tribe. Because, you know, they have, a lot of, like, different ethnicities. Apparently the idea is that a bunch of different Viking tribes came together, and that's what formed Burke. And, like, it was basically, like, all the best dragon hunters from each nation around the world of different Viking tribes. So that was their way to explain why there's Asian Vikings, Malaysian Vikings, whatever else Vikings. Which, it's like, okay, that's a cool idea, but why change Burke from how it was? Like, if anything, that would have been a better utilized idea in How to Train Your Dragon 3 with the 4 generals. That could have been cool. But, like, the live-action movie, like, I really went in wanting to like it, because I heard there was positive reception to it. And I went in with an open mind of, I hope it's good. And I'll give it this. It's not as bad as a Disney remake, but it is bad as like a 90s or 80s remake, if that makes sense. It doesn't have that soul that, like, it's kind of like 12 Angry Men and then the remake. You probably don't know that movie if any of you folks are on the inside, but there's a really good movie called 12 Angry Men. They did a remake of it later on. And the problem when I watched that remake is it doesn't have the soul, the pizzazz, the inflections. And I really was hoping this was gonna. I really hoped it was gonna be really good. But hey, I'll at least give it this. It's not as bad as a Disney remake. And I mean, hey, I can find some positives. Now, another negative I think is there are points in the film while they're flying during the training sequence where Hiccup's getting Toothless's tail to work and everything. It's not majestic. It's nowhere near as amazing or visually stunning as the animated film. And I truly think this is one of those cases where animation can do something that a live action film just can't do unless you're really, really going to go all out. Like, I think that for what the crew did, it's okay. I'll be honest, I think that there's better creators or better directors who I think could have done better. Let's see. Like, during the Astrid and Hiccup, Toothless's romantic flight scene, like, the moment where Astrid puts her hands in the clouds, like in the animated film, I barely see the clouds go past her hands to the point where I'm like, oh, wait, are those going past her hands or not? I can barely see it. Like, there's so many, like, visual problems with the film. I gotta say this, I think there's more visual problems than there are acting problems. Like, I gotta say this, I like that some of the dragons look more reptilian and fearsome. A big mistake the film made was making Toothless look too much like the animated version. Because here's the problem. They made him look like the How to Train Your Dragon 3 and How to Train Your Dragon 2 Toothless. Not like the How to Train Your Dragon 1. And what I mean by that is, in How to Train Your Dragon 1, Toothless could look fearsome and adorable at the same time. Like, think about that moment. Like, if you were going in blind and never having seen the first movie, you would not find this Toothless intimidating like the first one was. Like, the scene where Hiccup cuts the ropes and lets Toothless go. Like, that scene hits so hard because it's like, oh, holy moly, Hiccup's being pinned down by Toothless. Is Toothless going to spare him? Of course, before we know his name's Toothless, but you get the gist of it. But, like, in this live action one, it's like, he looks too friendly to be considered a threat. Like, I would not be scared of that Toothless. Like, the original, you could understand why people would be scared. Because, I mean, think about that, the creepy reptilian eyes at first, until Toothless, becomes friendly. Like, and just, he was more sleeker, more darker, more dangerous, more mysterious. The unholy offspring of lightning and death itself. In this live action one, I'm more willing to believe he's just an owl and a cat's offspring. Which it's too bad, because the animation looks good on the other dragons. I love the design for the Terrible Terror. And I would love to see that design come back if they ever did a live-action adaptation of the books. If they were doing, like, the live-action version of Toothless from the books. Like, the Terrible Terror looked great. I like the Natter. The Gronkle was adorable, which was strange to say. Monstrous Nightmare was probably the best one that translated to live action. Like, that one looked like it could be monstrous. Like, I get the feeling they were trying, but they just didn't have the right people on the project. Like, I really wished it was good. I could give it a basic okay, but it is like those 90s or 80s remakes where it's like, it's not the worst thing ever, but it's like, no one's going to remember this in 20 years. Like, I would say it's kind of like 102 Dalmatians. The sequel to the live-action 101 Dalmatians, where, at least I think it was called 102 Dalmatians. It's the one where Cruella gets out of the insane asylum. Where it's kind of like, okay, this was an okay film. I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. Like, I think that's the best description for this film is, it's an If I was really going to give it like out of 10 stars, I'm sorry to say, I'd have to give it maybe a 3. Yeah, just a 3. Like, I was tempted to say 4, but I really can't give it that much credit. Like, I want to, but I can't. Like, I will say this, though. I'm curious what would happen if they made the second one in live action. I don't think it would end well, but who knows. The one thing I can actually praise is this film has something that's surprisingly, like, its third act is stronger than acts 1 and 2 for this live action adaptation, which is so weird because, most problems these days is the third act is usually the worst act of a movie these days because people have a hard time writing them. I myself, with my projects, I struggle writing the third act more than any of the other acts. But in this film, Act 1 and 2 were hard to get through. I'll be honest, I nearly walked out several times. I almost considered walking out. It was that hard to get through, because there were some scenes where they made that scene that should have been short feel like it goes on for a while. Until we got to that third act at the Dragon Ring, I truly was considering walking out. And I'm sad to say that, because I'd like to see a good live action How to Train Your Dragon. I'd love to see live action remakes that are actually good and creative. Like Andy Serkis's Mowgli. Now that's a good live action adaptation of the Jungle Book. If you haven't seen that, check it out on Netflix. You want a good remake? Check that. Sorry, drifting off subject here, though. The music was okay. I'll be honest, I think most of the music in the entire film was just a variation on Test Flight, the most famous tune from How to Train Your Dragon. I think almost none of the music was original. It's sad to say, where the one thing that stood out to me that I genuinely liked was, I like the redesign of Gothi. Gothi looked awesome. For those of you who don't know, Gothi's the little old lady that you always see in the background of the How to Train Your Dragon movies. She's the village elder. Their redesign for her, she looked cool. She looked like something straight out of Skellige from The Witcher. Is there anything else? Nah, I can't really think of anything else to say about the film, but hey, I want to know y'all's opinions. Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Do you think I'm being too harsh on the film? Do you think I'm not being harsh enough? I like to see what y'all think. And who knows, maybe one day we'll get a good live action remake of something. Anywho, this has been Steven SwampDog, and I'll be signing off. Have a good evening or day to you all.